Oh. 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 All right. So, right now, we're in a portion of the Bhagavad Gita where Sri Krishna is really emphasizing one extremely important point to Arjuna. So, we're in a section where Bhagavan Krishna has just shared with Arjuna what constitutes sattvic tapas. So, essentially, what Krishna is sharing is that tapas, which is that feeling that we get when we feel like we're burning, like we're sacrificing something, like there's some kind of discomfort where we're letting go of something which is pleasurable now to gain something greater in the future. So that sense of sacrifice is what constitutes tapas. So what Sri Krishna is sharing is that the best type of tapas to engage in is sattvic tapas. And Sri Krishna just outlined what constitutes sattvic tapas. And now in verse number 18, the verse we're on now, Sri Krishna shares what a lower type of tapas is, which is the rajasic tapas. But really, what Sri Krishna is really emphasizing here is that in our worship, in our responsibilities, there's one all important factor. And that all important factor is our intention. The why behind our actions is, is what will characterize our action as being sadhana, or if it is just like any other action, which will result in further bondage and restriction of our freedoms. And how does action restrict our freedom? It it the bondage comes that when we act mindlessly, when we act in accordance to our selfishness, we are essentially strengthening our vasanas. We are strengthening the power that our likes and dislikes have on dictating our thoughts and actions. So that's how our actions bind us. It's through the reinforcement of our likes and dislikes. And the only way that an action can help move us towards peace or help liberate us is if we can hone in on that intention. So that's the essence of what Sri Krishna is sharing. Sri Krishna is sharing that there's all of us are constantly engaging in tapas, mostly. Anyone who is working, anyone who's pursuing anything, is engaging in some form of tapas, some form of burning or self-sacrifice. But the reason why we're engaging in that work will determine the type of outcome which we're heading towards. So that is what Sri Krishna is sharing. So we'll continue with verse number 18. Satkaramanupujartham tapodambhena chaiva yat kriyate tadiha proktam rajasam chalamadhruvam. Alright, so Sri Krishna shares the austerity which is practiced with the object of gaining good reception, honor, and worship with hypocrisy is said here to be rajasic, or unstable and transitory. So, Sri Krishna is describing the rajasic type of tapas. So any action which is engaged, which is done with the intention of recognition or of so that people will adore us. Anything which is done for the sake of attention and fame, and anything where the reward is transitory, meaning we're just engaging in it for sensual gratification. That type of intention is considered to be rajasic. And rajasic, essentially, all rajasic here is indicating is that what you are pursuing, what we are engaging in, is a shallow type of pursuit, something which will result in, which will end in a result which won't really satisfy us, which won't really fulfill us. Um, the only end result of this type of pursuit is inevitably going to be more pursuit. So rajasic type of intentions will always culminate in more and more desires. All right. So again, I think we've shared this before. I've shared this in our Meaningful Morning session before. But in our path, all of us, what we're seeking is joy. But I think sometimes we, at least for me, I tend to associate joy naturally as an emotion in a mind, as an experience that's felt in the mind, right? So like whenever I think of joy, I imagine, like Rudra laughing, like my son laughing, a baby's laughter. And then I associate, oh, that's joy. It's that feeling of laughter. But I'm forgetting something. It's not the sensation that I'm craving. It's not Rudra's smile that I'm craving. It's not the laughter that I'm craving. What I'm really after is the quietude of mind, which is associated with certain types of sensations. So I'm craving the quietude. I'm craving the mind being totally absorbed in a particular experience. So the question is, so the first premise is, what I'm seeking is quietude of mind. I'm not seeking experience. I'm not seeking sensation. I'm really seeking the absorption which is accompanied with particular sensations in the mind. That's the first thing. The second thing is, now I have to ask myself the question, what is it that's preventing me from experiencing that same level of joy, like when Rudra is laughing, in every experience? Why can't I have that same level of absorption, of engagement, where the mind is totally in the here and now? Why can't I experience that in every experience? What's preventing me from that? And ultimately, the answer comes down to our vasanas, or more simply, our likes and dislikes. It's as simple as there's certain experiences which I like, therefore my mind is easy to be absorbed in them, whereas there's other experiences that I don't like, and that dislike prevents me from being totally engaged in that experience. So, this journey towards peace, this journey towards joy, whenever you frame it like that, like we're all pursuing happiness, it seems like we're all on these unique paths. Everyone is on their own path towards happiness. Everyone's doing their own thing. There's different mechanisms and means to reach happiness. But really, the clarity that Vedanta provides is so profound. What Vedanta is sharing is it's very clear. If we're on the path to peace, then what we're doing is we are on the path of reducing the strength of our likes and dislikes. So the path of how do I be more happy, the question of how do I be more happy, is synonymous with how do I reduce the strength of my likes and dislikes. They're synonymous questions. So it's not like there's all these different avenues to reach peace. In a lighter sense, there is. Everyone is doing their own individual thing to try and reach joy. But ultimately, if we're successful in moving towards joy, then everyone is overcoming the power of their likes and dislikes. You can't have one without the other. So this is what ultimately goes back to why Sri Krishna is emphasizing so hard the intention behind our actions. The reason is because the only way to diminish the strength of our likes and dislikes is through selfless action. So, and ultimately, that's the answer. It's whenever we engage in an action which is not shaped by a like or dislike. When we do something when we're engaging in action in which we're not expecting joy in return, which is the same as an action which is not being shaped as a like or dislike, then that action no longer reinforces our likes and dislikes. And there's a whole science to it. And I feel like we've talked about this before in our meaningful morning sessions. But in essence, the short answer is selfless action exhausts our vasanas, reduces the strength of our likes and dislikes, which is the essence of karma yoga. That's why Sri Krishna spends so much time on selfless action. But that is also why Sri Krishna is emphasizing so strongly the importance of our intention. Okay, and now the last thought on this subject is, okay, so suppose we recognize, yes, our intentions are extremely important, that even if we're engaging in dharmic action, if the intention behind that action is selfish, it's not really helping us to evolve. Okay, I accept. But now, suppose I'm engaging in a responsibility and I notice that some selfish intention has crept into my mind. I'm thinking about, what can I do now so that I can get the promotion? Or, how do I act right now so my peers look at me or notice me or whatever. There's these constant intentions that creep into our mind throughout the day, which are more selfless in nature. So what do you do on a more practical level when we find that our intentions don't seem to be as pure as they could be? So in the answer, it's really beautiful what Vedanta shares. The only thing that needs to be done is the awareness of the selfish intention itself. Meaning, right now we are at the level of understanding that we don't want to engage in selfish action. We all understand that. So at that intellectual level where we appreciate that we're trying to get rid of our selfish intentions, the only thing that's required from us is a constant vigilance of the type of desires that are entering our mind. As soon as we recognize that we're engaging in an action because of a selfish intention, it's that recognition, that awareness itself, which is the transformative power in changing our intention from selfish to selfless. Meaning, it's the problem is when we act blindly, when we act without awareness to why we're doing what we're doing. As soon as our attention is brought to the level of the mind, and as soon as we're aware of the thoughts that are entering our mind and what is motivating our actions, that attention alone is enough to change the nature of our intentions. So it's not like all of a sudden, okay, I want to engage in selfless action. I'm aware of the mind. Now, all of a sudden, all of my actions are naturally going to be selfless. It's not like that. What happens is the normal habitual response in how you act will continue. If we continue to constantly seek attention and constantly seek validation, that's going to be the habit of the mind. But the changing factor is constantly being aware of, oh, that selfish intention has crept into my mind. That's not what I want. So now I reframe it. Okay, I'm actually doing this for this reason, for this positive reason. And then again, the mind drifts. And then again, you bring it back and say, no, that's not right. I'm doing it for this reason. So it's the constant vigilance which actually changes the nature and the texture of our intentions. So that's the transformative power, the awareness of mind. So when we're engaging in our responsibilities, the really crucial thing to focus on is the constant vigilance of the types of thoughts that are entering our mind. And really, the one primary sadhana which helps with practicing that type of awareness is japa. So if we find that in our responsibilities, we're just constantly getting lost in the everyday, hustle and bustle of life, and it's hard to remember to bring our awareness back to our mind. The key sadhana, the key practice to engage in is japa. Japa is not really about how long can you keep your attention on the mantra. That's one aspect of japa, but really, japa is training the mind to recognize immediately when the mind has wandered off the object of focus. So it's not just about, okay, Om Namah Shivaya, and I can do like 3 malas of it, keeping the mind focused on the mantra Om Namah Shivaya. That's awesome, and it's a great accomplishment. But the most practical skill which is developed from japa is the immediate recognition that the mind has wandered off of the mantra. So as you practice japa more and more, you will notice that you develop the skill of noticing when the mind has wandered immediately, more and more quickly. Sometimes it'll be like 10 minutes before you even recognize that the mind has been wandering and been having its own dialogue. And then, you're like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to be doing japa. And then you bring it back. So like that constantly bringing back the mind to the object of focus, that is the skill which is being developed in japa, and that is the skill which is required to maintain pure intentions throughout the day. All right. So that is verse number 18 of chapter 17 of Bhagavad Gita. All right. So we'll continue with verse number 19, or Vivekji might review verse number 18 with you all tomorrow. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.